All right, talk to me about the future of the blockchain and where all the action's going to be. We've seen Solana make a crazy run. By the way, Solana is short for Solana Beach, which is like a mile away from where I grew up, by the way. So those guys are going to have to airdrop me something. Yeah. But we saw Solana as a layer one solution getting a lot of price action. Okay, it's now the 6th or 7th largest market cap, but also a lot of users, and it's actually getting functionality, NFTs as well. And I do want to talk about NFTs. We'll get there. You also see Cardano just launched their smart contract. I had Sandeep on here. Polygon is doing some impressive stuff on making Ethereum faster and cheaper. What do you see as the future? And I think you might have once said, if newcomers are still buying Cardano, we have a lot of work to do on education, unquote. What did you mean by that? And what do you think is the future?
Yeah, maybe I kind of like wanted to say that, it's just like, most of the innovation is not in Cardano, I would say. It's of course in Ethereum because of the developer's perspective, the community has been always. But I will say like, what Aave has been doing and where the ecosystem will move is this kind of like a multi-network. So you will have Ethereum, you will have Polygon, you will have Solana, Cardano, and you have Avalanche, which is now growing quite a lot, and they have their own kind of builder community. And we'll see like this different kinds of like networks going on. And that's how and also you have layer twos that you have basically networks that are their own networks, but they're settling their transactions into, let's say, Ethereum or other networks, so-called layer twos. So we'll see like not just kind of like a horizontal expansion where we have different networks and also like the Polkadot, but also like I would say like this vertical where you have layer twos on top. So because now the transactioning we have on Ethereum, it becomes very expensive to transact there. So you need to take some of the transactions elsewhere where you don't need the same security, let's say to Polygon or to somewhere else, L2. So we'll see like this networks of like multi-dimensional kind of like a perspective. It's kind of like a good example is that if you have something very, very valuable in real life, you will use a safe. If you're just carrying a couple of $100, you would just use a wallet. You don't care if your wallet gets lost or something happens. You lose a couple of $100, cards you have to reorder, right? But if you have something very, very valuable, you're using a vault. And Ethereum is kind of like a vault. And now what we're doing is like we're carrying this vault everywhere and it's heavy, you need a lot of energy. Whereas you can just carry a wallet, and less secure for things that you don't need the same security. So that is something which is going to restructure. So you can use, let's say if you mint an NFT, you might mint it elsewhere than in layer one, or maybe that you want to mint it on Ethereum because you have this Ethereum culture there, all your users are in Ethereum, so it's important to mint it there, but you can do it elsewhere. So it becomes like a more of like how much security you want to apply on what you're doing and culture, because every blockchain is not only security, it's also culture. So it's like two components there.
Can you explain how a blockchain is culture and how do you manage that,
Yeah. Well, for example, in Ethereum, the culture is whatever there is built and ideas coming in. So, for example, CryptoPunks that has a project built like a few years ago, and I remember I used to buy punks like back those days, and this was fun, Mooncats, and then you have our protocol, you have DeFi there, and you have people associated, people who have like kind of like I usually say that like Aave is always like multi-chain. And like our on-chain headquarters is in Ethereum because we have born and raised there. That's where we started, and off-chain is here in London. But like we see like people also like participating in other like, you might be very active in the ecosystem of Ethereum, Avalanche, Polygon, Solana, but you participate in different cultures because the one blockchain, depending on the developers, followers, people who interact there, they form a culture. You go to different kinds of events, off-chain, you have certain opinions and they differentiate, and that's how the culture is born. And the culture is pretty much like a community. Culture is just like a wider concept of a community where you're participating, but also you might not participate, but you're kind of like some sort of like member of like this bigger movement.